Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome here to the Launchpad and our live launch coverage of SpaceX Starlink 11-9, set to launch from Space Launch Complex 4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you joining us here. It is going to be a busy 24 hours of launch schedule, kicking off right now with Starlink 11-9. In less than 3 hours, we have the first batch of Project Kuiper satellites launching on an Atlas V from Florida. So later in the night, we have Starlink 12-10 launching also from Florida. Early in the morning, we've got Vega C launching from the French Guiana. Tomorrow, Alpha will try to launch Message in a booster again from Vandenberg. And then we have a launch on Wednesday evening after a little bit of a break. As always, if you want to stay up to date with the latest on the launch schedule and what the launch windows are, you can head over to tlpnetwork.com, click on that launch button, and follow along there. Now, you're looking at a live radar view coming in from the GOES satellites above Earth, looking at the weather conditions down on the west space coast as Vandenberg gets ready to see another launch here today. Now, SpaceX Starlink 11-9 is set to launch on booster 1063, going for its 25th flight on a 33-day turnaround. This booster previously supported Sentinel-6, DART, Transporter-7, Iridium OneWeb, SDA-0B, NRL-113, 167, and 149, and 16 previous Starlink missions. SpaceX's autonomous drone ship, of course, I Still Love You, stationed downrange in the Pacific Ocean. Now, a reminder that there is the chance that you could hear one or more sonic booms if you're in the Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, or Ventura area. If you happen to be down in that area and get photos or videos of today's launch, make sure you send those to us over on our social media on X, TLPN_official, or even easier, drop them in the SpaceX chat over on our community Discord. That's where our community hangs out in between streams, and we would love to see you in there. Now, SpaceX is getting ready and going live here, so we are going to patch in their live feed and listen in to SpaceX Mission Control as they continue through the countdown for today's launch. You are now looking at a live view of Space Launch Complex 4E, where Falcon 9 is fueled up, ready to go at T-minus 4 minutes, 47 seconds, and counting till launch. Now, we got people tuning in from all over the world. We're glad to have you joining us here. If you haven't yet, take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We got Arto, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, in Finland. SMW is in Maine. We got Paul in South Carolina. Gary's in Seattle. Great to have you here. We got Princess in Canada. Lots of people tuning in. Great to see so many regulars here. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us. It really does help us out, and we appreciate your support in that way. It looks like a beautiful day down at Vandenberg, and a day we can actually see the rocket. And you can see there those fairings up on the top. Inside the fairings today, we do have 27 Starlink V2 minis, all the regular Starlinks, no direct to sell on board today's mission. Now, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by taking us at the Launchpad, and we'll work on answering those live through today's flight. As usual, SpaceX no longer provides live coverage of deployment of the Starlinks. That deployment set to occur after a second burn of the second stage, 53 minutes into flight, with deployment scheduled for 59 minutes, 54 seconds after liftoff. But of course, we will be staying with you live through first stage landing and SECO 1. T-minus 3 minutes, 25 seconds and counting. Lots of people tuning in from all over the world. We got Chaz in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Keith in Amsterdam, John's in Utah, Irwin's in New York, Joe's in Riverside, California, Paul is in the UK, we got Hans in Nigeria, welcome, Roadman's in New Zealand, we got Pyro in Ireland, Mike's in Vancouver, Miles is in Nova Scotia, Anthony is in London. Now, if you are happening to watch in Canada here today, we're not going to dive into it or tell you who to vote for, but I am going to tell you, go out and vote. It is election day for the federal government here in Canada, and that is an important thing to do. So you can always watch the launch on a replay, but take a moment and get out there and be informed and go vote. T-minus 2 minutes, 35 seconds, and counting till launch. We've seen strong back retract there now occurring. Falcon 9 topping off its tanks. A T-minus 1 minute, that is when Falcon 9 will take over the count, pressurize its tanks to flight levels. T-minus 45 seconds, the launch director will give that final go for launch. Minus 2 minutes. As always, let's see that go, no go in the chat. If you're a TLP member, don't forget to use those custom TLP launch emotes. And if you'd like to support what we do, consider hitting that join button. Just 99 cents a month gets you access to those custom TLP launch emotes. T-minus 90 seconds.
Ground gas closeouts.
They're now purging the lines on the strong back in the pad in preparation for flight. Michael, thank you so much for becoming a suborbital explorer. We appreciate your support in that way. T-minus 60 seconds. Falcon 9 is in startup and has now taken over the count and is pressurizing its tanks to flight levels. Justin, thank you so much for being a member for 34 months. That's insane. I appreciate that.
Go for launch.
And there is that final go for launch from the launch director. Everything continuing to look great. L-minus 40 seconds and counting. If you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view of Space Launch Complex 4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, where SpaceX is set to launch 27 more Starlink V2 minis aboard Falcon 9 to low Earth orbit. Today's Falcon 9 booster is flying for its 25th time and will land on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. L-minus 15 seconds and counting. Let's listen to the launch countdown.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. The first milestone in today's flight will be max Q, that moment of peak mechanical stress on the vehicle. Just 17 seconds away. Let's listen for the call out.
Falcon 9 is supersonic. Max Q.
And there's that call for max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. Now, Falcon 9 will continue on its flight. Big sequence of events coming up, starting off with MECO, or first stage main engine cutoff at T plus 2 minutes, 25 seconds, or just a minute from now. This will be immediately followed by first and second stage separation, MVAC engine start, or SES-1, grid fin deploy on the first stage, and then about 20 seconds later, fairing deployment. Everything continuing on a nominal trajectory. Now, as always, once we get past that moment of separation, and I see the guesses already coming in, let's see what those guesses are for today's apogee. The first stage, once it cuts its engines and separates from the second stage, will still continue to coast to a higher altitude, which is its apogee. Apogee is the highest point in its flight that with its velocity that it reaches before it begins its descent back down to Earth, conducting 2 burns prior to landing. So we always have a little bit of fun. See your guesses in the chat. Princess says 119, Paul 118, Justin 115, David's 119, Devra 119, Stub is 114. Standing by for MECO. Let's listen to the callouts.
Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition. Fairing separation confirmed.
And some great callouts there and some beautiful views as the first stage now continues on its way to its apogee. Both the first stage and second stage now above the Kármán line. That's at international recognized altitude of space of 100 kilometers. Second stage continuing under power, now passing over 8,700 kilometers an hour, passing 113 kilometers in altitude. First stage up at 109 kilometers, still increasing as that speed starts to slowly bleed off here in preparation to reach apogee. Now, as always, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We'll work on answering those live during today's coast phase kind of here as the first stage comes back. Justin, does the MVAC engine gimbal? I believe it does. It has RCS though. So I believe there was a variant, but they use the RCS now. It's a great question. You're stumping me on that one. I'll have to double check the answer on that one, Justin. Great question. I see 116. The speed has leveled out. And we are now increasing in speed. 116 is the winner for today's apogee guess here today. Let's see if anyone got that in the chat. Byron said 116. Well done. Chaz says 116. Chad, Roadman. Some great guesses there in the chat. First stage now beginning back down to Earth. Has 2 burns to conduct. First, its entry burn. That'll begin 6 minutes, 3 seconds into flight, lasting 25 seconds here today. Then we'll have landing burn, 7 minutes, 49 seconds into flight, lasting about 25 seconds before it touches down on the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. Now, a quick programming note. We do have the launch of Atlas V with the first batch of Project Kuiper satellites for their internet constellation for Amazon. Liftoff is currently scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be beginning our live coverage around between 6 and 6:30 as we count down to that launch and bring you the latest updates from ULA. We did just get confirmation from the United Launch Alliance Mission Control. They have received a go to begin propellant loading here. So as they continue through the countdown, they are beginning that cryogenic propellant loading for today's Atlas V mission. They, of course, continue to monitor weather, but the forecast is 70% go for launch, which is a great opportunity for liftoff here today. Much better than it was previously, so we hope you'll join us back here in just less than a couple of hours for an Atlas V launch. T plus 6 minutes into flight, standing by for entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And that entry burn has now completed. The first stage now falling through the Earth's atmosphere, just using its booster size, the grid fins, and the thickness of the atmosphere to burn off that speed. It's going to increase in speed here for just a moment, and now it's going to start bleeding it off, now below 30 kilometers in altitude and descending towards the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. It will, of course, conduct a final landing burn before touching down on the drone ship, but just look at that speed bleed off, and all that is the thickness of the atmosphere and the booster itself. There is no propulsive slowing at this time. David, Atlas V is launching from Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida.
Stage 1 transonic.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Landing confirmed.
And with that, we're standing by for confirmation of SECO 1 on the second stage as it continues into a coast phase. And we begin our transition over to preparing for the countdown for Kuiper 1. L minus 2 hours, 9 minutes, and counting till that mission is set to begin. We will, of course, begin monitoring the weather conditions now that we have confirmation of SECO 1. And there is a live look at the current weather conditions down on the Florida Space Coast, where we are now just 2 hours away from the first ever operational launch of Project Kuiper. That is going to do it for our live launch coverage of today's Starlink mission. We'll be back live shortly to begin our live commentary coverage of the first Amazon Project Kuiper launch. But for now, from our TOP Canada studio, my name's Zach, and we will see you next time because space is better together. Goodbye.